President Cyril Ramaphosa is today expected to deliver the eulogy at the reburial of liberation struggle hero and one of the first South Africans to become medical doctor, Dr Alfred Bathini Xuma in the Manzana village in the Eastern Cape. Dr Xuma passed away in January 1962 in Johannesburg after a life of selfless service to justice and humanity. He was buried at the Brixton Cemetery and will be reburied at his birthplace in Manzana village, eNgcobo. We now cross back to our reporter Mantashe, who is attending the funeral service, and she's joined by the Premier of the Eastern Cape. Very good morning to you again, Busisiwe. Thank you so much for joining us. Take us through the developments, if at all.
A very good morning, Simpiwe. Well, the province is burying one of its own. In fact, the country is burying one of its own, Dr Xuma, who in 1930, at the height of the intensifying discrimination against the Africans, he built a library in Johannesburg because the African child was not allowed to use the main library there. He became the president of the ANC in 1940, and we all the one, together with ZK Matthews Kalata, that amended the constitution to make sure that it promotes equal rights for members, including women as well. But right now I'm joined by the Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Mabuyane to talk to us about the type of leader Dr. As Premier, thank you so much for your time. We're talking about a man who in 1940, when he converged to that seat of being the president of the ANC, amended the constitution to make sure that women and men within the organization have equal rights. What seems to be going wrong that at this day and age, there's still the struggle for women empowerment within the party and the country at large?
Thank you very much. Greetings to viewers. On this day, which is also a very special day if you talk of women emancipation in the world, remember this is a World Women's International Day today. We give respect to all women out there on the work that they've been doing. Dr. Xuma is one of those leaders who understood that there can't be prosperity progress without women actively participating in the issues of society, in the development of our country, etc., etc. Yes, he's a man who dedicated his life for unity of our people, uniting beyond parameters of non-racialism, non-sexism, to ensure that this country has got a democratic system for prosperity of her people. So we are actually giving this send-off to a man who deserves it, a man who has done everything that is possible, a man who was very passionate about education. Remember, you could have decided to stay away from everything and focus on his career, etc. But he knew very well that to be a doctor at that time without his people being liberated, it was meaningless. So he's a man who is actually has become an epitome of the sacrifice that we're talking about, selflessness that we would want to see. So all of us, we are expected to emulate such kind of characters to be leaders that can take our people to another level. Yes, of course, challenges of the society of today, as we have mentioned them, issues of gender-based violence, issues of patriarchy. Even then, it was a question of saying how best are you able to transform the society. Issues of femicides that are really making women to be actually scared about their lives every day we live. So those things are issues that Dr. Xuma was very clear about. That's why even in the ANC, Women's League was really activated. Women's League took its central stage in the ANC politics. From there, we have never looked back. We have moved forward. So indeed, we are in this place. It's a very small place, but huge in terms of contribution to the struggle for the liberation of our people. It's an area where you get people like Otatu Sisulu and others coming from. There are many, few kilometers from here. You talk about Christian, you talk about Robert Gesha, you talk about Vuisile Mini, who are also coming from this part of the country, the Christianity District Municipality. And
when you talk about someone who could have stayed away, focused on his career because he had his own practice, but we're talking about he saw that the African child was not allowed in the main library in Johannesburg. He called upon his colleagues in the USA to build a library. Just how important is it for the province, for the country, to strengthen these relations with other countries so as to develop the African child, so as to develop the country in these trying times?
This is a man who knew very well that you can't really talk scientific development without education. You needed education to really broaden the horizon of your people, for your people to understand development from a scientific point of view. This is a man who understood that there can't be a development without research. So the R&D becomes very key. That's why you're looking at the issues of libraries and research. He has gone an extra mile. You would understand those 5 points, actually programs that he championed even outside the country for University of That's why we condemn students when they are protesting. They decide to destroy what is there. These are things that have been worked for, sacrificed for, fought for, people going across the globe looking for assistance, etc. So we don't want people, when they protest on something, they destroy what we have. Please, we are really making that appeal, because Dr. Xuma and others actually will feel very bad at this day and age that there could be still people who are destructive in the public amenity. So we are making that appeal to everyone to say what has been worked for, what has been put together for our people to develop. Let's protect, let's preserve it, because some people sacrifice for it.
Premier, thank you so much for your time. The Premier of the Eastern Cape, Oscar Mabuyane, is saying that the structures that are there now are years of sacrifice from the likes of Dr. Xuma, and therefore it is important for all to hold hands together and preserve this legacy and make sure that whilst people are protesting for what they want and what they need, they do not ban the structures that are already taking place. The service inside is continuing to take place, with the family having an intimate service of burying the wife of Dr. Xuma, who's also been repatriated from Johannesburg to be here at their home here in eNgcobo. From here we'll be going to the main marquee where the official special provincial funeral will be taking place, and of course President Ramaphosa will be giving the eulogy there. Back to you in studio for now though, Simpiwe.